Hey guys, welcome back to the kitchen. It's a lot of kitchen days lately. All this harvest coming in and we've got to get it put up. So today we are going to do the next easiest vegetable to put up, other than tomatoes being the first. This one is the next one. We are going to be putting up green beans today, and this one does require a pressure cooker. So after you get your beans all snapped to the size you want them, we've got to clean them off to remove any kind of debris from them that may have gotten them from the dirt or from the animals, just environmental. So we're going to wash them off with cold water. Once you have your green beans rinsed off, go ahead and make sure that your jars are clean and sterile and you have them ready, because once they're rinsed off, we're going to put them straight into the jars. So in canning green beans, we need a pressure cooker and our canning salt, which I'm using quarts, so we're doing a teaspoon of canning salt per jar. We need, of course, our green beans. We need any kind of funnels that may allow you and help you to get your beans in the jar. We need the jar lifter to grab the jars and get them out of the crock pot. That'll be later if you want to wait till tomorrow after you let them sit overnight. And we need our lids and our rings, a clean cloth to wipe the top of the jars off, and of course our water that'll go in there. If you need any kind of bowls or colanders to wash or to get anything ready, then of course have that on hand. We've got to prepare our jars, so we're going to go ahead and wash them in soap and water. Let them be soaking a minute to get all the spiders and the critters and the dirt all loosened up, just in case you haven't had them stored in a box. I like to keep mine outside in a pantry that I have that stays cool. It's because it's built out of concrete, kind of like a root cellar. And sometimes the dust and the critters and stuff can get through the door. The door cracks like on the bottom, so I'm going to let them soak a little extra to get them all clean. If I can, I want to show you a quick trick to washing jars. And you know that most of them have the regular mouth on them, and you can't get your hand down in there. So this is what I found works. I pour out about half the water, get a rag, put it in the jar, hold the end of it with one hand, turn it sideways, and then shake it round and round. See, if you can see without me shaking the camera. So it will go round and round inside for you. Then whenever you pull it out, it's good and clean. Then all you have to do is wash the outside. Make sure to get around the mouth, and you're good. So now that we've got our green beans washed, we're going to go ahead and put them in jars. We've got our jars clean, and I've got my funnel here. So we're just going to put them in the jars. Work them down in there. I don't push them very hard, but just enough to get them down in there. You don't want to pack them too tight, but tight enough where you get some resistance. Alright, so I'm going to fill up the rest of these jars real quick. So now that we've got our jars all filled, we have to take our can salt and do 1 teaspoon per quart, half a teaspoon per pint. Aren't y'all proud of me? I'm not using a bowl. I'm just going to dish it out with this bag. So we do a teaspoon per jar. Since it's full, since the bag is full, it's not as hard to get the salt out. When it gets down to the bottom, you can hang it up. We've got all those full. Now we need to fill them up with water. And by the way, out of a 5-gallon bucket, I got 7 quarts. and a handful that I'm probably just going to freeze or going to cook tonight for us. So if you want a roundabout, I don't know how much what makes. About 4.5 gallon bucket makes about 7 quarts after the snap. Now this is going to go straight into the pressure cooker. There's no need for anything to be warmed up or anything. This is all raw pack method where the raw vegetables are going in here. We're just putting just regular room temperature, cold, hot water, whatever you want to put in there. It doesn't matter. Just filling them up with water, putting the lids and the rings on there, and then you put them in the pressure cooker and then allow it all to heat up together. So this is what's called a raw pack method. So we're going to fill these up with water. Don't forget to debubble a little bit. Make sure you've got enough water in there because these beans are going to soak up the water. On about a 1/2 inch headspace, which is halfway between this bottom lip and the top. So usually about this middle little thread here, that'll be about a 1/2 inch of headspace. I just figured for a video reference I'd keep it all together over here. Alright, so to debubble, I usually just turn it just a little bit. Just shake it, shake it, shake it. They have that little debubbling tool that they have made to get your money. But you know what? A butter knife works just as well. Or a chopstick. I have heard some people say that they wait about 10 minutes and it debubbles themselves. I just twist it and shake it a little bit. Alright, so now we've got to get our lids and rings. I didn't catch it on camera, but remember to wipe your rims off with a wet rag. Some people use vinegar on there. Either way is fine. Doesn't matter. And then we just put our lids on. And then our rings on, finger tight. I seen on another Facebook group that I was looking at the other day, I'm friends on, and one of the ladies, she was asking, she was new to Canaan this year, and she was asking about the juice in her beans coming out, and I think she was doing black-eyed peas or purple peas or something, and so you know it has kind of that brownish tint to it in the water, and she was asking, you know, did she do something wrong, because her water level had dropped in her jars, and her water in her pressure cooker was, pressure canner, was, you know, dirty looking. And everybody was, you know, just saying, oh, that happens sometimes or whatever. And I told her, I said, you know, I did not notice mine doing that until my daughter started helping me. And there was times I did not go back behind her and check the rings myself, because you know, just experience, I know what they're supposed to feel like. I can tell you, you know, go to resistance and then just a hair more, but until you actually do it and feel it, you don't know what it feels like. So I can tell you all day and you still not get it right. So there were days that I wasn't going back and checking behind her, and those are the days I realized that some of my stuff was leaking out, like with the carrots and with the cabbage and stuff like that. I noticed that the water had turned in my pressure canner. So now I have went back and started checking back behind her. But I told this lady that, and she was like, well, I thought I was, you know, doing it right. It hadn't happened until this year. I said, well, you know, you may just be out of practice, but, you know, it may be the pull of the moon, gravity, or, you know, whatever. But that, from my experience, that's what it was, is that she wasn't getting hers tight enough to push that lid down on the jar. So when it pressure canned and it boils on the inside of the jar, it was coming up and out because there was too much room. And I said, there's a fine line right there in getting it too tight and not getting it tight enough. So if you've done it the same way your whole life and it works the same way, you know you're doing it right. If something changes, just like me, I've adjusted mine and did them just a hair tighter, and I mean not even a 1/16 of an inch tighter, and it hasn't happened to me since. So just a tidbit of information: once you start doing beans and different vegetables in the pressure cooker, the pressure canner, I'm trying to get it right. Because people have said, you know, can I pressure with this? And I'm like, no, that's a cooker, not a canner. So I'm trying to say pressure canner. But if you happen to notice that, then that's what it is. It's not going to hurt anything. They should go ahead and seal. And if they don't, go ahead and use them. It's no big deal. Nothing's wrong with them. By God, don't throw them out because you worked too hard for them. But if you happen to run into that, just try it just a hair tighter and see if that helps. Sometimes it's just going to happen. But don't get it too tight because your jars will bust. I've only had it done once, so it's not likely that it's going to, unless you just have a man, you know, like Steven, he comes down here, he cranks them on there, and I'm like, I can't even get these suckers off. It's not supposed to be that tight. Just finger tight to where whenever you tighten it up, it's a little resistance to open it. And then once it cans, it'll be loose. And you can just come over here and and it'll spin off because it's not even tight anymore. What it's doing right now is holding the lid on, and then once that lid gets sucked down on the jar, there's extra space there to where it doesn't have to hold anything down anymore, and it's loose. Okay, so let's get these loaded up in the pressure canner. Alright, let's get it loaded. We want to put our jars in first. Now, if you get a Presto 16 quart or any kind of 16 quart canner, it is going to hold 7 quarts. Anything less than a 16 quart canner. Now, the quart number on there is how much liquid it's going to hold, not what it cans. Okay, so just be careful. They have like 16 and 23s. Anything less than that is usually used for a cooker. Alright, one in the middle. Alright, so there's our 7. Alright, so this is a 16 quart. It holds 7 quart jars. The 16 quart is the liquid or the amount of food that it holds, not in jars. So you can pour 4 gallons of water in here and it's going to be full. But we only get 7 quarts of jars in here. So now we've got to get some water and get this about halfway. It usually takes about a gallon, and I'll have enough in there. One more thing, you got to make sure your rack is in the bottom down there. The little thing with the holes, I don't think you can see it. That metal rack that comes in there, you have to make sure that it's in there, because if it's not in there and your jars sit flat across against the bottom, they will bust. Guaranteed. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They will bust. Alright, let's get our water in here. Alright, they say, and you can read in your manual, they say like 2 inches of water in the bottom is good enough. I've never really had any limitations or done anything. I don't know the specifics on actually canning. I just fill it up about halfway on the jars with the jars in there. You can do like 2 inches beforehand, put them in there, and they may come up halfway. But I usually just about a gallon is enough for a 16 quart. Now, like I was saying, they do have, this does fit 9 pints, and they do have bigger ones like the 23 quart that will hold quarts on bottom and pints on top. So you can do 7 quarts in the bottom and 9 pints on top. And then they, you know, because it's a little bit taller. So it's like a pint taller, pint height taller. So anyways, just whatever you get. This is just an example. This is a 16 quart Presto. I've got 7 quarts in here and a gallon of water. So let's get the top on it and get it cooking. Alright, so with the Presto, you have the little arrows right here. You have to match it with the arrow on the handle to be able to get it on. Now make sure that you're checking this seal underneath here. You have to check the seal, make sure it's not cracked or anything. And at the end of season, we usually put some Crisco around the edge just to keep it moist while it's not being used. But while it's being used, it's usually no problem, but you need to check it every time. Alright, so these are going to go for 10 pounds, which is one of these. This is 5, plus a ring is another 5, so that's 10. Put 10 pounds on top, and turn this on high. So this is going to go, this is the way I can. Now, if you watch other videos, you know, like I've said before, they're going to tell you to wait until the steam's coming out and then throw the weight on there. Time it for 10 minutes, and then process it however long it's supposed to. Mine does not have one of those pressure gauges on there. I have to listen with mine. So with this one, I just put this on here, and whenever it builds up pressure, it's going to start jiggling. From there, we're going to process it at 10 pounds for 20 minutes. I'll verify that. I believe it's 20 minutes. It's been a year since I've done these. And then that's it. All you do is just let it sit there overnight, and then they're canned. Alright guys, I was editing another video and wasn't in here when it happened. This little back thing back here has done popped up saying that it has enough pressure to lift it up and that it has built up pressure. My jiggler is now jiggling, so I'm going to turn it down to about medium high on my stove. On other stoves, you may need to put it on medium. I think mine's just old, it has old wiring, but anything less than medium high on mine and it's going to stop jiggling. So as you can see, or hear, it's starting to slow down a little bit. That means it's going down to hold the pressure where I need it to. We're going to time these for 20 minutes. See you back shortly. So our 20 minutes is up. I've cut the eye off and I have lightly slid it over without bumping it. As you can see, it's still going. But as it cools down and releases that pressure slowly, like I said, leave it overnight and it will stop. So in the morning you'll be able to, or later on tonight, I would wait 2 or 3 hours. And then it'll be cooler, probably not cool enough for you to handle yet, but you can take it off and probably open up the lid. And of course, as I've said before, this right here, if you move it over and it makes that noise, there's pressure in it, leave it alone. If you come over here and just kind of tap it and there's no pressure being released, then you're good. You can go ahead and take it off, have a good hold on your lid just in case there's any residual pressure under there. But as long as you can take the weight off and there's no steam or no psh coming out of it, then you're okay. Just push the lid down, twist it, take it off, and then you'll be able to see your beans. If it hadn't been overnight, you may still see them boiling in there. And they're still cooking, and just leave them. Don't bump the jars or anything like that. It's just best if you just leave them in there and let them sit overnight. And whenever you do take them out, then they'll be sealed. You can take the rings off of them. Any of them that did not seal, you can go ahead and use them. If they're still hot, let them cool completely, because they might still can, even though they are still warm, they may can and seal as they cool off more. So just let them be completely cool before you take the rings off. And let me go show you the ones I did the other day that these are going to look like. Here's my beans I canned a couple days ago. And they all sealed. Took all the rings off of them. And they are ready to be eaten now. Well guys, thanks for coming in my kitchen today and going on this journey of canning these green beans. Hopefully you guys have learned now how to can your own green beans. And at this time, may God make your garden as bountiful as He has ours, so you can go can some green beans. Until next time guys, we love you and God bless. Bye bye.